I need to thank a lot of people because as you see the credits, I didn't make it by myself. But I just want to recognize my co-conspirators, Teresa Guzman and Luis Nunez. The producer, Rui Alexander Santos, is not here. And a lot of other friends and people who gave me things, who helped me make the film. And you know who you are, but I will tell you, I will send you a message. Okay. But I learned about this. I learned about Mario Pinto Andrade maybe in 1971. I read something that he wrote about culture and the national liberation movements. And that's how I learned about him. And at the time I was doing a course, and I was doing a course in Brazilian history, and I was obsessed with Cinema Novo and all that business. So it spoke to me because he was making a link between the two. And I kept the reference. It's not mine alone. There's a whole generation of us who came of age in 70s, 60s, that kind of thing, and we became aware of the liberation movements in the Portuguese colonies, and knowing something about the previous movements for independence in Africa, we thought it represented something beyond the previous experience, and that it was important to pay attention. Older ones told us this. Okay, so we listened, we read, and we tried to learn as much as we could, and we followed passionately, and we defended the few friends from Angola who were favorable to MPLA against all the others who were favorable to the other two groups. You know, so I mean, it's a kind of connection like that. And maybe this starts long before me. I will stop with that and not try to be clever.
You organized the film kind of as if there are 3 chapters: from, with, and about. Why did you decide for that organization?
I think we discovered that, myself and Luis, when we finally arrived at this version. And it seemed that that's sort of the organizing order or principle. And I thought it might be worth the risk to let people know that that's the organization of it. Maybe it's wrong, maybe I should have hit it. But I think it's better to maybe be sometimes clear and direct about these things.
And is there a certain disillusion about, because so at Mario's time they faced this struggle internationally, and today national feelings came back, and they are they took most of the space of the fight. Is there a generation disillusion about how things turned out to end?
I suppose, yeah, I suppose the people face some frustrations. Things didn't turn out exactly as they intended, as they desired, and what they had in mind. But it's next year's 50th anniversary of the independence of these countries. Probably too soon to tell, as painful as that may be. So I think, yes, we pass through periods when we're a bit down and blue and that kind of thing, but a luta continua. Hinda, Mario's daughter and Sarah's daughter, is here, who participates in the film, and I'm really happy for her presence and for what she contributed to it.
Costa? Hello. One question. This frustration that is shown in the end of the film, of course, the actual situation of the African countries is not what Mario Andrade would wish when he fought for the freedom of those countries. Why it failed? Why it failed? That what he tells in the interview, the happiness of the people, the construction of countries for everybody, and to develop those countries. Since many of them have lots of natural resources, and we know what they do with them.
I think, what can we say? That's a huge, huge topic. But one thing we should remember is that these countries were never left alone to do whatever they wanted to do. There was always, they were in a world that was bipolar at least, and then in a way there's a third leg on the stool because the second group split to two and they fought each other. And they were never left alone to carry through their own aims and goals. The other thing is, unfortunately, from what I know, Angola suffered until 2002 with a civil war and internal conflict between these various forces. And that doesn't help you plan and do the things that might have been your primary goal. You get, you go sideways. You miss things. You can't achieve what you want to achieve. The people live with 30 years of war. And I mean, that's very difficult. In Mozambique, war. It's not always of their own devising either, okay? I said they were never left alone. They were never free to do whatever they wanted. Others were interested in the outcome, and they were caught in this. And yeah.
Billy, thank you for this wonderful movie. We all need a lot of this memory to be shared with the new generations, to get to know Mario. And I know people have been, well, there's a lot to say about the film, but I will make a question, not about how things have failed, but how huge was this project for, the whole world? This was not just a project about creating, Angola or, a nationalist thing. So during the process of doing this film, what can you say about that project?
Oh, I think it was, of course it was a larger project. It included alliances and relationships with others who were trying to accomplish similar goals. And there was an exhibition, it's not my field, but called The Short 20th Century by Okwe Inwizo, who made an exhibition that tried to raise the awareness and appreciation of the fact that maybe the most significant thing of 20th century was the liberation of so many millions of people from formal colonialism, colonial domination and this, and to begin to try to create the conditions for their own emancipation and self-determination and independence, to attempt it. And it's the short 20th century for them, because the first is 57. It's not that it began then, but I mean, we had we can record some successes with Ghana and all that you see in the movie. And I think maybe, and scholars you know better than me, but one striking thing about the experience of in Portuguese Africa, other places, but in Portuguese Africa, is that they conceived their project as a unified project. The MAC included all the groups. CONCP included all the groups. And then they were told and encouraged that they needed to represent a national territory and a place and peoples and this kind of thing. And so in a way, they were encouraged to do that. That's why previously others also. But I don't know that they were so strictly limited in that view. They had affiliations and relationships with others, and they had support and aid from others. Some are struck by the presence of that Vietnamese man in the PAIGC camp. It's not difficult to meet them. They were in Algiers. They spoke French. They knew these people, and they shared experience, you know. And if it's good to learn that maybe. But then the whole world changed also in 1990, because one part of the bipolar world went away. And then people are looking around, how do we organize, how do we coalesce, how do we build something, do we just collapse and capitulate to this unipolar idea? Though it's a false idea. I mean, there's a lot of poles. We're going to find out. But not to be clever, huh? It's a serious thing. Maybe I'm getting old and I'm sleepy or something like that.
Mario was a man of culture, a great thinker, poet, etc. But we cannot find his books. I hope at least your film makes them appear again. Someone interested in publishing them. And that's also very important for us to know the thought and of these people.
I know a number of his books, a number of his writings exist in French and they exist in Portuguese. The good news is they recently started to appear in English. And I think the 2 volumes, his biography of Amilcar Cabral is now in English. I think it's a Verso Press book. And yeah, I think his book about proto-nationalism, I think that book is now in English. And also a collection of his writings I just read was published in English. So that's good news on that front, because this is not, there's this thing where in in the English language, there's not so much knowledge and not so much that circulates about the story in Portugal and the relationship of those things. It's improving some. I just saw a big anthology that's come out, and the preface says that in Anglo history there's very little knowledge and appreciation of it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if I have only one question. I would have probably 5 or 6, but I think it's also important to say something. I think it's important to acknowledge the courage, not only of you, but only of Mario Andrade's daughter, who is actually here today. As an Angolan descent, I really wanted to say this, that I appreciate her. I can imagine that it's hard to do these interviews. And so, yeah, I think it's really important to say this. Thanks to both of you. This was a really strong work. And yes, I can imagine all the emotions people go through. Probably as a question, how to deal with all these interviews, the emotions that occur during creating a movie and also now showing the movie?
I don't know that it's so courageous on my part, huh? I think on Hinda's part is larger challenge and question. No, I think people, a lot of the people, one thing that's true in the film is the people who appear in the film, and this is a limitation maybe, but all the people had a direct contact or knowledge with him. You know, they're not people, and I had really wonderful people who knew him indirectly. They knew him through their research, they knew him through his writings and this kind of thing, but it turned out we ended up with people who had a direct connection, a relationship with him. So maybe that's a strength and maybe it's a weakness, or maybe it's a limitation, but I think all of them, they're varied in their persons, in their age, and in their experience, and their time with him, and thinking about things in retrospect for some of them. Yeah, I was just fortunate to meet and have them get their reflection, their testimony while they're here. The unfortunate fact is you need to hurry up. I'm on the clock, but you're not, so you could start now. But they start to leave, you know, and that's sad. I mean, it's sad, but in Africa they say when an old person dies, a library burns. So.
Boa noite a todos. No, in fact, I obviously I'm very overwhelmed with the movie, and I would like to thank Billy. It will have been more difficult, I think, to appreciate the movie if the movie had been done by someone from Angola or from Guinea-Bissau or someone close to the history. Everyone will have said, oh, it's normal that this movie is being made. But having someone that is not part of our history, someone coming from North America and that has been moved as well by our past and with our history is very powerful. It's very powerful because it's very courageous to take the time to learn, to feel, to take the time as well to understand. And for me, as a daughter, of course, the struggle continues because it's been very difficult when I arrived in Angola to realize that no one knew about Mario. It's not that people didn't want to know about it, but no one had said in school who he was, and there was as well this, the narrative at the time took place during lunches and dinners, so everyone was informal discussions took over the narrative. And in the absence of going to a library or having access to a book, I was confronted with lots of frustration. And 30 years after, I've come myself to the conclusion that it's going to be very difficult to forget who he was. And most importantly for me, it's a whole generation that we have to celebrate. So thank you again, Billy, to allow us to celebrate Mario's generation.
Thank you. I hope so. Some festival ask, and we're trying to find there's one that we know about that we hope we can participate in. I'm sure. Because the good news is, in the last years, through the dedication of Hinda and others, Mario has emerged as a public person, I mean, he's recognized as one of the 4 or 5 presidents of the MPLA. That was not said before. There's a library, I think, dedicated to him. And Hinda just sent me a message. I shouldn't say she sent me a message. I read also in the news that a hospital is being built and opened, named for Mario. Interestingly enough, I think the hospital is in Joaquim's hometown. Yeah, the province, yes. Okay. And I think the other thing, I hope people recognize and are curious and interested to know about many of the figures who appear that probably you didn't know about because of their journey together. You can discover ones that you didn't know that name or recognize that. You can learn more about the ones that you do know something about. So I hope the film has that value and that virtue of maybe introducing or encouraging people to learn about other figures, learn about the effort they made, what they were trying to accomplish, and not look at it simply as, well, it didn't work out, you know, kind of thing. Because it's a long road. It's not like an event. So.
Well, I would like to add that the film will be released theatrically in Portugal so in 2 weeks, on the 28th of November, Lisbon, Porto, Coimbra, etc., many cities, and please spread the word and tell your friends. Thanks a lot, Billy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.